From childhood, we're surrounded by the same images. Happy couples stand proudly in front of a house with a sold sign. Friends brag about getting their mortgage approved. Social media is full of people showing off new home renovations. It's more than just marketing. It becomes your identity. Owning a house means you've made it. But have you ever stopped to ask, made it where? Who decided this milestone is more important than starting a business, traveling the world, or simply living life without the weight of crushing debt? Why is buying property seen as the one true sign of success? Why do people treat renting like failure? Why do we judge someone's worth by how many square feet they own? These are the questions almost nobody asks, because we're raised to believe the answer is obvious. Of course you should buy a house. Of course that's the dream. But maybe it was never really your dream. Maybe it was designed for you by someone else. By banks who profit from 30 years of interest, by governments that collect steady property taxes, by entire industries that depend on you taking out massive loans to pay for furniture, renovations, insurance, repairs, landscaping. Meanwhile, what happens to you? You work harder, stay longer, put off travel, skip opportunities, all to make sure you don't miss a payment. You live tied to one place, one job, one financial obligation that never seems to end. For many people, owning a home is not freedom, it's a golden cage. It's stress, it's maintenance, it's hoping nothing breaks because you're already stretched thin. But it's also a powerful illusion. Because it looks like stability, it looks like accomplishment, so we keep chasing it. Even if deep down, we want something different. Imagine for a second if you didn't feel pressured to buy a house. Imagine if you put that money into building businesses, seeing the world, growing your skills, investing in yourself. Would your life be less meaningful or more? These aren't easy questions. They force us to rethink what we were taught, but maybe that's exactly what we need. Because true freedom might not come with a mortgage. It might come from choices. From the ability to wake up tomorrow and decide to move, to change jobs, to take a risk. It might come from not owing anyone a single cent for the roof over your head. So next time someone tells you that buying a house is the ultimate life goal, pause. Ask yourself who really benefits from that belief, and then decide for yourself what success actually means to you. You see, for decades, we've been sold the story that homeownership is the foundation of a stable society. Governments and banks encouraged it. Entire advertising campaigns were built around it. The idea was simple. If people buy homes, they settle down. They become steady workers, pay local taxes, invest in the community. They become predictable. That predictability is good for economies, for local governments, for businesses. But what about for you? Because tying yourself to a mortgage doesn't just mean buying for walls and a roof. It often means giving up flexibility. It means locking yourself into a specific income level. It means taking fewer risks, staying at a job you hate just so the bank doesn't come knocking. It means watching the world change around you while you stay in place, paying off debt that never seems to shrink. Some people thrive in that environment. They genuinely want a permanent spot, a neighborhood to grow old in. That's beautiful. But how many people chase that dream only because they were told it was the only dream worth having? How many people ignore their true passions, their desire to explore or build something unconventional, simply because they're terrified of being seen as irresponsible for not owning property? And let's not forget what happens when the market shifts. Ask anyone who bought a house in 2007. Overnight, their homes were worth less than what they owed. They were trapped in negative equity, unable to sell, unable to refinance, just stuck. Banks didn't suffer. They got bailed out. Governments didn't lose. They still collected taxes, but ordinary people lost years of savings, peace of mind, and dreams for their kids' futures. Meanwhile, the same narrative kept rolling. Buy a house. They said, rent is dead money, build equity, be smart. And people kept following, because what other choice did they know? Think about how often you've heard that phrase, rent is throwing money away. Is it really? Because when you rent, you pay a fee for shelter, flexibility, and often fewer responsibilities. When something breaks, it's not your problem. If your life changes, you can adapt. Renting isn't always throwing money away. Sometimes it's buying freedom. Of course, owning can be smart under the right circumstances. If the numbers make sense, if it's truly affordable, if you're ready to stay for the long haul, it can be a wonderful thing. Stability, control over your space. No landlord telling you what you can or can't hang on the walls. But when it's forced, when it's done out of fear of being judged, that's when it becomes dangerous. It's like wearing a heavy golden chain around your neck because someone promised it would make you happy. You might look successful, but underneath, you feel trapped. Now think bigger. What would your life look like if you removed that expectation? Would you take more chances? Would you move to a new city, a new country, try a new career without worrying how it would impact a mortgage? Would you prioritize experiences over possessions? Because here's the truth that often gets lost. Happiness doesn't live in square footage. It doesn't live in granite countertops or in a perfect backyard deck. It lives in memories, in growth, in relationships, in discovering who you are outside of the boxes society tries to put you in. And if you're someone who genuinely dreams of a house, who feels lit up by the thought of building a home, planting a garden, putting down roots, that's incredible. Go for it. Do it smart. Make sure the math works. Make sure it truly fits your values. Because then it's your dream, Not just a dream sold to you by a mortgage broker, but if you're not sure, if you're feeling pressured, if you lie awake at night worrying how you'll afford the down payment or what happens if you lose your job, take a step back, breathe, realize there is more than one path to a fulfilling life. You can live a full, meaningful existence in a rented apartment. You can build wealth in other ways, through businesses, stocks, skills that pay you back 10 times over. You can travel the world, live lightly, pick up and move when inspiration calls. None of these things make you irresponsible, they make you human. A human who gets to define what success looks like, on your own terms. So next time someone says buying a house is the ultimate life goal, smile. Let them have their opinion, and then go chase the life that actually matters to you. Because at the end of your days, it won't be the walls around you that count, but the stories you lived inside them. You see, there's something deeply unsettling about how much of our self-worth is tied up in money and possessions, especially in one possession in particular, a house. It's become more than shelter. It's become proof to the world that you're stable, responsible, successful. Even if deep down you feel anything but. How many people do you know who bought homes they couldn't really afford, just to check that box? Just to show parents, friends, future partners, even strangers on the internet that they were doing well. They post the pictures online, smile wide in front of the front door, keys in hand. But later, behind those closed doors, the stress is suffocating. They're budgeting every dollar, cutting corners on things they once loved, worrying constantly about interest rates, property taxes, maintenance emergencies, lying awake at night doing mental math, trying to figure out how long they can keep this up, but they don't dare speak it out loud, because then they'd have to admit they were struggling. And in a culture where owning a home is the gold standard of adulthood, struggle equals failure. That's why so many keep pretending, putting on the same happy homeowner face. While inside they're terrified, and think about the timeline. You sign up for a 30-year mortgage at 30. By the time it's paid off, you're 60. That's 3 decades tied to a monthly payment, praying nothing goes wrong. 3 decades of planning your life around a single financial obligation. Imagine all the dreams that get postponed or canceled entirely because of that. The idea of starting a risky business, taking a sabbatical, moving abroad for a few years, even downsizing and trying something new, it all becomes harder. Because the bank still expects its payment. No matter what your heart desires, this is the part no one tells you. Owning a home can be wonderful, but it can also be a lifelong leash, and for some, it's more leash than liberty. Now, step back even further. Why is this dream so universal? Why is the white picket fence burned into our collective brain as the pinnacle of achievement? Because our entire system's built on this belief. Banks thrive when you borrow hundreds of thousands and pay them back over decades. Governments love it because you pay predictable property taxes, helping fill city budgets. Local economies like it because homeowners are statistically more likely to spend on renovations, landscaping, local services. Entire industries exist to sell you things specifically for your house: furniture, decor, security systems, kitchen upgrades, backyard patios. If tomorrow everyone collectively decided, you know what, we're happy renting, we'll save the difference, invest in experiences and flexible lifestyles, it would upend the economy. That's how deeply woven this narrative is. It's not just about your happiness or security, it's about keeping the machine running. And let's be clear, renting isn't throwing money away. That's one of the most pervasive lies in modern financial culture. When you rent, you pay for a roof over your head. You pay for not being responsible when the hot water tank explodes or the roof leaks. You pay for the freedom to leave if your job changes, if your relationship ends, if your heart leads you somewhere new. That's not wasted money. That's paying for flexibility and peace of mind. Owning a house isn't the only way to build wealth either. Some of the world's most successful entrepreneurs, artists, freelancers didn't tie themselves down with a mortgage in their early years. They used that capital to build businesses, take risks, move wherever opportunity took them. That liquidity money that isn't tied up in a single liquid asset can be incredibly powerful. Now that doesn't mean owning is bad. For some, it's exactly right. They want roots, a community, a garden they plant, knowing they'll be around to watch it grow. They want to renovate and customize without a landlord's permission. That's beautiful. But it should be a choice, not an expectation. It should come from a deep personal desire, not because you feel like a failure otherwise. So ask yourself honestly, why do you want a house? Is it because it's what you've always wanted? Or is it because it's what everyone around you wants? What your parents told you was the dream? What every movie, advertisement, and social pressure hinted was the smart next step? What if your dream looked different? What if it was a small apartment in a vibrant city, close to cafes and co-working spaces where you could meet other creatives? What if it was hopping countries every few years, experiencing new cultures, learning new languages? What if it was living simply, so you could work less, stress less, and actually savor your short time on this planet? None of that makes you irresponsible. None of it makes you immature or less stable. It just means you value different things, maybe freedom over permanence, maybe experiences over square footage, maybe memories over mortgages. And maybe that's the smarter choice for you. Because let's be honest, The world has changed. The days when a single job could support a family and pay off a house in 15 years are largely gone. Wages haven't kept pace with housing prices. We live in an era of layoffs, automation, entire industries disappearing almost overnight. Locking yourself into a massive long-term debt under the assumption that everything will stay stable is riskier than most people want to admit. Flexibility, adaptability, liquidity, these are the new safety nets. Being able to pack up and move for a better opportunity. Having cash on hand for emergencies or investments. Being debt-free so you can weather economic downturns. That might protect you more than owning a piece of property ever could. So here's a radical idea. Define success on your own terms. If buying a house makes you feel secure, if it aligns with your deepest goals, then do it. But if it doesn't, if something inside you whispers that you want a different kind of life, listen, let go of the shame. Let go of worrying what your parents, your friends, your neighbors think, because at the end of the day, it's your life. They won't be making the mortgage payment when times get tough. They won't be the ones lying awake at night, heart racing, wondering how to cover unexpected repairs. They also won't get to live your dreams for you, so choose your own path. Choose based on what actually lights you up. What gives you joy and peace? Not what society tries to sell you. Because there's no point working your whole life for a house if all it buys you is stress. Picture yourself 30 years from now. Do you want to look back and say, I lived exactly the life they told me to live? Or do you want to say, I crafted a life that was mine, with choices I made freely, even if they didn't always fit the mold? That's real wealth. That's real success. And it might come with a house. Or it might come with a passport full of stamps. Or a cozy rented flat that gave you the freedom to follow your curiosity wherever it led. You're allowed to redefine the dream. You're allowed to look at the standard life script, get a stable job, buy a house, pay it off. Retire and say, maybe that's not for me. You're allowed to chase uncertainty if that's what makes you feel alive. Because in the end, this life is painfully short. Too short to spend it chasing someone else's goals. Too short to chain yourself to debt you never truly wanted. Too short to measure your worth by property lines. So when you hear the next person say, owning a house is the only real sign of success, smile, nod, then go live the life that actually fulfills you. Because you don't owe anyone proof of how well you're doing, especially not proof measured in square feet.